My beloved child, do not rush past this moment. Something unseen has been moving quietly around your life for far longer than you realize, and if your heart has been restless without knowing why, there is a reason. Pause here for just a little while, because what you are about to hear did not arrive by accident. You have wondered if heaven still notices your silent prayers. You have wondered whether the love you have waited for has drifted beyond your reach. You have questioned whether the promises placed deep inside your spirit were only beautiful dreams. But I tell you now, those questions are not the end of your story. They are only the beginning of a revelation you were never meant to discover too early. Tonight, I ask you not to listen only with your ears, but with the deepest place inside your soul, because something that has remained hidden is beginning to step into the light. There have been moments when you felt someone thinking about you without explanation. Perhaps you suddenly remembered a place you had not visited for years. Perhaps a familiar song played unexpectedly, or an old memory returned without invitation. You dismissed these moments as coincidence, but nothing touching your spirit has been random. Every quiet whisper has been part of a greater design. I have watched every tear that fell when no one else knew you were hurting. I have counted every lonely night when you wondered why love always seemed to arrive for everyone except you. Yet while you believed you were waiting alone, another heart was walking a path that slowly, quietly, and unknowingly was moving closer to yours. You have imagined this person many times. You created a face in your mind. You pictured conversations that never happened. You believed you understood how your story would unfold. But what if I told you that nearly every assumption you made about this connection has been incomplete? What if I told you that the person destined to transform your life does not match the image you have been holding on to? Some truths cannot be revealed before the heart is ready to receive them. If I had shown you everything too early, you would have walked away from the very blessing you had been praying for. Listen carefully now, because this is where the mystery begins to deepen. Your soulmate is closer than you think, yet not in the way your imagination has convinced you. You have searched in distant places while overlooking quiet moments placed directly before you. You expected dramatic entrances and impossible signs, but heaven often moves with gentle footsteps instead of thunder. Sometimes destiny passes through ordinary conversations. Sometimes miracles wear familiar faces. Sometimes the answer stands quietly at the edge of your life while you continue looking beyond the horizon. I know the disappointments that shaped your expectations. I remember every promise that someone else broke. I remember every message that never arrived, every goodbye that shattered your confidence, every relationship that taught you to protect your heart instead of opening it. Those experiences slowly built invisible walls around your spirit. You called them wisdom, but many of them became fear disguised as caution. You stopped expecting beautiful surprises because pain convinced you that hope was dangerous. Yet even while disappointment was teaching you to expect less, I was preparing something greater than what your wounded heart could imagine. There is someone whose path has crossed yours more than once. Perhaps only briefly. Perhaps so quietly that you never recognized the significance of those moments. They carried questions they could not explain. They felt strangely drawn toward something familiar inside you, even though logic offered no reason. At times they tried to ignore it. At times they convinced themselves they were imagining everything. But every attempt to forget only made the feeling stronger. They could walk away physically, yet something inside them continued turning back toward your spirit. Do you remember those unexplained moments when your thoughts suddenly shifted toward someone without any clear reason? You may have dismissed them quickly, but there are connections that begin long before two hearts understand what they mean. Heaven speaks softly through impressions before it speaks loudly through circumstances. What felt ordinary was quietly becoming extraordinary. What looked insignificant was actually the beginning of something neither of you could fully understand. Still, I allowed silence to remain between you. Not because I wanted to keep you apart. Not because I had forgotten your prayer. But because timing protects blessings that impatience would accidentally destroy. There are seasons when distance is not punishment but preparation. While you questioned why nothing was happening, invisible pieces were being arranged beyond your sight. One lesson here. One unexpected meeting there. One painful ending somewhere else. Every delay carried purpose. Every closed door redirected two different lives toward one destination. You could only see today's confusion, but I could already see tomorrow's reunion. The heart of your soulmate has not been untouched by sorrow. They carry questions they rarely speak aloud. They have smiled while hiding exhaustion. They have appeared strong while privately wondering whether genuine love truly exists. There were nights when they almost surrendered hope completely. They believed they had missed their opportunity. They wondered if the person they were waiting for had chosen another life. Little did they know, the same questions echoed inside your own heart. Two souls separated by circumstances were unknowingly praying almost identical prayers beneath different skies. This is why I tell you not to measure heaven by visible evidence alone. Much of what I accomplish begins long before human eyes can recognize it. Seeds grow underground before anyone celebrates the harvest. Dawn begins while darkness still appears victorious. Love often begins moving before either heart realizes the journey has already started. Something unusual has been happening recently, though perhaps neither of you fully recognizes it yet. The distance between your stories has quietly begun shrinking. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Almost invisibly. Conversations that once seemed impossible are becoming increasingly likely. Decisions made by strangers are unknowingly creating future opportunities. Small changes that appear unrelated are slowly removing barriers that existed for years. You call these ordinary events. Heaven calls them preparation. Yet there is something else you must understand. The greatest surprise is not simply how close your soulmate has become. The greatest surprise is who you believe they are. There is a name you continue returning to in your thoughts. There is an image your imagination keeps protecting because it feels familiar. But familiarity and destiny are not always the same. Sometimes people mistake emotional attachment for divine alignment. Sometimes they confuse unfinished stories with eternal ones. I do not say this to wound your heart. I say it because truth always arrives before genuine peace. What waits ahead is not smaller than your expectations. It is greater. It simply wears a different face than you expected. This realization will challenge everything you thought you understood about waiting. At first you may resist it because human hearts naturally cling to what they already know. But eventually you will recognize that I was never taking something precious away from you. I was protecting you from settling for a version of love that could never fully satisfy the deepest places within your soul. There are moments coming when conversations will seem strangely familiar, as though you have known this person far longer than memory can explain. Time will behave differently around them. Peace will arrive before certainty does. You will not need endless performance to earn their attention. You will not feel forced to become someone else to deserve their affection. Their presence will not create confusion inside your spirit. Instead, your heart will begin remembering a peace it had almost forgotten was possible. Even now, something inside them has begun changing. They have started noticing details they once ignored. Your path has entered their awareness more often than before. A quiet curiosity has awakened inside them. Without understanding why, they feel that an unseen chapter is approaching. They cannot explain it. Neither can you. But heaven rarely announces its greatest miracles before their appointed hour. There were reasons why I allowed previous relationships to end. Had those stories continued, neither of you would have become the people capable of protecting what is now approaching. Brokenness taught compassion. Loneliness created depth. Waiting produced patience. Tears softened pride. Every painful chapter became part of the language your future love will understand without explanation. You have sometimes asked me, why did you remain silent? I heard every question. Silence was never absence. Silence was construction. While you interpreted delay as abandonment, foundations were being built where your eyes could not reach. You judged the unfinished building while I was preparing the completed home. Soon, unexpected pieces will begin fitting together with astonishing clarity. You will remember conversations that seemed meaningless. You will recognize why certain people suddenly disappeared from your life. You will understand why opportunities close just when you thought they should have opened. Looking backward, what appeared chaotic will suddenly reveal perfect order. Yet before that understanding comes, one final layer of mystery must unfold. Because there is something neither you nor your soulmate knows. Someone close to one of you has already noticed the invisible connection. They sensed it before either of you became aware. At first they ignored the feeling. Then it returned. Again. And again. Now they quietly carry a secret they have not spoken aloud. Not because they wish to interfere, but because even they cannot fully understand what they have begun to witness. The choices this person makes over the coming days will influence events in ways that seem impossibly ordinary on the surface yet astonishing when viewed through heaven's eyes. One conversation. One unexpected invitation. One seemingly accidental encounter. Each will appear unrelated, yet every step will move your stories closer together. This is why I ask you not to force tomorrow before it arrives. Trust what you cannot yet see. Remain gentle with your own heart. Do not chase shadows born from fear. The love prepared for you does not require desperate striving. It requires faithful readiness. Something extraordinary has already begun. The first movement has already taken place. Neither of you noticed it. But heaven did. And what happens next will reveal a truth so unexpected that, when you finally understand who has quietly been standing nearer than you ever imagined, you will realize your entire journey has been leading toward one moment, the moment when the hidden identity I have protected until now can no longer remain hidden. But before that name is revealed, before the final veil is lifted, there is one event still waiting to unfold. And when it happens, neither of you will ever see your story the same way again. The moment I spoke of has not yet fully arrived, my beloved child, but its footsteps are already echoing through places your eyes cannot yet see. If you have remained with this message until now, it is because something inside your spirit recognizes that these words are not simply a story, they are an invitation to look beyond appearances. There is a reason your heart keeps returning to certain questions even after you convince yourself to let them go. There is a reason you have felt a strange anticipation recently, as though something important is quietly approaching while the rest of the world continues exactly as it always has. That feeling has not come to frighten you. It has come to prepare you. For a long time, you believed that love would arrive with certainty first and peace second. But heaven often works in the opposite direction. Peace arrives quietly before understanding does. You may not recognize the destination immediately, yet your soul begins recognizing the atmosphere surrounding it. There will come a moment very soon when you find yourself unexpectedly calm in the presence of someone you never expected to affect you so deeply. It will not feel like the emotional storms you have mistaken for destiny before. It will feel unfamiliar precisely because it carries no pressure to perform, no fear of pretending, and no exhausting uncertainty about whether you are enough. This is the difference between love born from anxiety and love born from purpose. The connections that wounded you demanded constant proof. They made you question yourself again and again. They left you searching for hidden meanings in every silence and every delayed response. But the connection I have prepared carries a different rhythm. It does not ask you to lose yourself in order to keep someone close. Instead, it quietly calls the truest version of you into the light. Even now, your soulmate is changing in ways they cannot explain. They have started letting go of old expectations. They have begun questioning decisions they once defended with confidence. Memories that used to control them no longer carry the same weight. They feel as though one chapter is ending, even though they cannot yet see the beginning of the next. More than once they have stopped in the middle of an ordinary day because your presence crossed their mind without warning. They could not explain why. They tried returning to their routine, yet something invisible kept interrupting their thoughts. They wondered if they were imagining everything. They even laughed at themselves for giving so much attention to a feeling with no obvious explanation. But every attempt to dismiss it only caused the feeling to return with greater clarity. This is how quiet miracles often begin. Not with certainty. Not with dramatic announcements. But with gentle persistence. The kind that cannot be ignored forever. Meanwhile, you have also experienced moments that seemed insignificant at the time. You have almost reached out to someone and then stopped. You have almost taken a different path but changed your mind at the last second. You have almost accepted opportunities that suddenly disappeared. You have wondered why simple plans unexpectedly changed without warning. You thought these interruptions were disappointments. Yet what if those interruptions were protection? What if every unexpected delay prevented you from arriving too early? Because timing is not simply about when something begins. Timing is also about who you have become by the moment it arrives. The version of you from a year ago would not have understood what is approaching now. Your heart was still carrying burdens that did not belong in your future. Your mind was still listening to voices that spoke from fear rather than wisdom. Your spirit was still trying to convince itself that broken love was better than waiting for whole love. But look at yourself now. You have survived conversations that nearly broke you. You have walked away from situations you once believed you could never leave. You have learned to stand even after disappointment tried convincing you to remain on the ground. You may not always recognize your own growth, but heaven has witnessed every step. There is another truth I must reveal carefully. Your soulmate has unknowingly been praying for qualities that already exist within you. Not your appearance. Not your achievements. Not the image others see. They have been asking for honesty during a season filled with deception. They have been asking for loyalty after experiencing betrayal. They have been asking for peace after walking through emotional chaos. Without realizing it, their prayers have been describing the very healing your own heart has been developing through every difficult season. That is why what is coming cannot be rushed. Healing recognizes healing. Brokenness often recognizes only more brokenness. And I refuse to allow your story to become another cycle of unnecessary pain. There is someone observing quiet changes around both of you. They do not understand the full picture. They simply notice that your paths seem to move closer through circumstances that should never have connected. They have seen names appear unexpectedly. They have watched conversations happen at unlikely moments. They have witnessed timing that seems too precise to dismiss completely. Though they cannot explain it, they have started wondering whether something greater is quietly unfolding beneath ordinary life. Do not underestimate the power of seemingly ordinary moments. One greeting. One shared smile. One unexpected question. One delayed decision. These are the threads from which heaven often weaves extraordinary stories. Many expect miracles to interrupt life dramatically. But sometimes miracles enter life so gently that only later do people realize the ordinary day they almost forgot became the day everything changed. Your heart has carried one hidden fear for longer than you admit. You worry that the right person may arrive after you have grown tired of believing. You wonder whether hope itself will become too exhausting to continue carrying. Hear me clearly. Hope sustained by me never expires. Only expectations built on human timelines become weary. The promise itself remains alive. Even during the moments when you stop believing in yourself. Even during the nights when silence feels heavier than faith. Even when you whisper nothing more than, "I don't know if I can wait any longer." I have never stepped away from the story I began writing. But now comes the part that may surprise you most. The person you expect least is not unknown because they are far away. They are unexpected because your heart has been looking in the wrong direction. You searched for extraordinary signs while overlooking extraordinary character. You looked for dramatic emotions while overlooking quiet consistency. You expected instant certainty while overlooking gentle peace. The greatest blessings often appear ordinary until heaven reveals what has always been hidden beneath the surface. Very soon, something small will happen. Most people around you will barely notice it. It may seem like an ordinary conversation, a familiar place, a chance encounter, an unexpected message, or a decision that appears completely unrelated to love. Yet that single moment will quietly begin unlocking doors that have remained closed for longer than either of you understands. Neither of you will realize its importance immediately. Only later will you look back and say, that was the moment everything truly began. But before that door opens completely, another truth must be faced. Someone from the past may briefly return. Not because they are your future, but because unfinished emotions sometimes make one final attempt to reclaim your attention before destiny moves forward. Do not mistake familiarity for purpose. Not every return is restoration. Some returns exist only to reveal how much you have grown. When that moment comes, your response will matter more than you realize. Not because you must fight for your future, but because peace always recognizes the difference between what once held your heart and what has been prepared to heal it. Watch carefully. Listen quietly. Do not allow fear to make decisions that faith should make instead. Because the next chapter will begin with something so ordinary that nearly everyone around you will overlook it. Everyone. Except one person. The very person whose heart has been quietly moving toward yours all this time. And when their eyes finally recognize what heaven has been preparing in secret, the first words they choose to speak will reveal a truth neither of you has been ready to hear until now. But that moment belongs to the next part of this story.